Hi, my name is Gloria Malinzi. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, we'll be talking about how I quit drinking. So I did a video before, I don't know if it's 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, where I talked about my journey with drinking and the reasons why I quit drinking. So in that video was more of the reasons why I quit drinking, but I wanted to do another video that actually explains how I actually did it. It's now been 2 months plus a few days. We're now in March something. So, and I'm not drinking and I don't plan to get back to it. And I just wanted to share some tips, some things that I did that could perhaps help somebody else who's, kind of on a similar journey, who would like to quit any other bad habit. It doesn't have to be drinking, it could be something else. But I just wanted to, take the time to talk about this. So number one is that I watched this video by this guy. He's called Steven. He has his YouTube channel called Diary of a CEO. Usually on his channel he does interviews, but he did this video, I believe it was the beginning of the year or sometime end of last year. It's like an hour-long video. But in that video, he just talks about how to break bad habits, any kind of habit that you're not happy with in your life. So it doesn't have to be drinking. It could be smoking, could be sex addiction, or any other bad habit that you're not happy with. He talks about some tips, like he shares I think 4 or 5 tips that would help you with that. When I watched the video, it was actually after I had stopped drinking, but it still helped me a lot, right? So in the video, he shares a few tips, but one of the tips that he mentions is knowing your cues, right? So knowing your cues is basically knowing what prompts you, or those few minutes or hours before you do something, a bad habit, right? So it could be smoking or drinking, knowing when you actually do these things and being mindful and aware of your mindset and what you're thinking in that time before you actually engage in the bad habit, right? So for me, it was after work. So after work, I'll take a shower and then I'll pour myself a glass of wine, right? And this would be every single day. And if I'm not working, let's say it's my day off, it will be like sometime in the evening, I'm just on the couch watching TV or whatnot, I would just reach out for that glass, right? So it was being aware of this, and then the second thing is swapping that with something else, right? So you don't want your brain to kind of like freak out and be like, what's going on? Like, we're not going for what we usually go for. And so for me, what I did is actually would drink juice. So it's a little bit ridiculous, but it actually helped. So hear me out. I usually would drink wine, right? But instead of doing that, I would drink juice. So what I would do is I would pour juice, like apple juice or pineapple juice or whatever. I would just pour it in a glass of wine and I would put ice in. So this would tell my brain wouldn't freak out and feel like, at least we're still drinking kind of thing, right? Did I have some days where I felt like I would prefer to actually be drinking wine and not juice? Absolutely. But most of the days I would actually be okay. Like, I would just drink the juice, watch whatever I'm going to watch, go to bed, wake up, go to work, it's another day, right? So this helped me a lot. And so yes, I would share this, that consider just swapping a habit, doing something else, so your brain doesn't freak out and being like, what's going on, and then give you these crazy like urges to just drink. Because I did not want to have those like really bad urges where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to drink, I need to drink. And drinking juice helped with that, right? Number 2, I read this book, The Naked Mind. The video that when I talked about my journey with drinking, I talked about Red Table Talk, and they did a Red Table Talk about the effects of drinking, the effects of drinking alcohol, of course. And they had this lady on the Red Table Talk. Forgive me, I don't remember her name, but she was on the Red Table Talk. And this lady that they interviewed in the Red Table Talk, she has a book. So I actually was like, I'm going to read the book and see what it's all about. So the lady in the book talks about her struggles with drinking, and she was like an alcohol addict for many years, and she talks about going from that to being completely sober, right? So in the book she shares a few, of course, the effects of alcohol, it's bad for our liver, etc. What I really liked the most about the book is actually she debunks some myths, right? So obviously as drinkers we have these myths about drinking, that alcohol relaxes me, alcohol makes me happy, or alcohol gives me liquid courage, when you want to speak about something, or alcohol is important to have a social life, and etc. So in that book, she addresses every single myth that we all as drinkers have, right? And so she like debunks like one by one. So for example, it can be alcohol makes me happy, and it's like no, it doesn't. It actually causes stress. Actually, when it comes to sleep, you actually are not getting a good night's sleep, and that kind of thing. So for example, with alcohol makes me happy, she talks about when you're drinking, like let's say when you're first having that first sip of wine or a beer or hard liquor, etc., what happens scientifically is that there is a rush of dopamine into your brain, and the area of your brain, like the feel good area of your brain, right? That's where the dopamine rushes to, and that's when you have that kind of like a good feeling of, you know, when you start feeling tipsy. But actually this only happens like once, that it only happens when you first start drinking, but then after that you keep trying to chase that feeling, and so you keep drinking more and more and more. But that feeling is only in the beginning. You're not going to get that feeling again, right? So she debunks like this kind of myths, and she explains more about you know, how our brains are wired and how we think a certain way when it's actually not. Things like that. So I really enjoyed this book, because when I was reading the book and she was debunking this myth, I was like, oh my god, I actually do think this way. And it's like, no, like you thought this, but it's actually not that way, right? And so that was one of the things. And then the other thing, as I mentioned before, like she talks about, say like alcohol makes me relax, and it's like it doesn't relax you, it actually releases a stress hormone in your brain. So instead of relaxation, it's actually the opposite. If you have a problem that you're refusing to deal with, drinking alcohol does not help the problem at all. And I'm sure you know this. The problem remains as the problem. You can drink to kind of like forget about it, and you're feeling good in that moment, but you wake up and the issue is still there, right? We all know this. We talk about it all the time. And so she just talks about how when you're actually not drinking, this is when you're actually more prone to actually deal with the issue and not just kind of like sweep it under the rug and hope that, you know, tomorrow morning I'll wake up and the problem will have kind of like disappeared. Like, we know it's not like that. So she talks about, you know, how it's good for us to, when we're not drinking, we're actually dealing with our issues and etc. And is alcohol vital to my social life? The truth is, you're a fun person to be around. Like if you're fun or if you're funny and you're a good person to be around, it does not matter if you're drinking or not drinking. If you're around people that you actually want to be around with, you're going to have a good time regardless. If you're drinking or not drinking, if somebody is boring, it does not matter if they drink or not drink, they're going to be boring even after they drink. The issue is that because we're drinking, in our minds, because let's say we're tipsy or we're drunk, we think that we're funnier, or we think the person that we're talking to is like, let's say we can think they're funny or they're a fun person. It's just your brain, it's the alcohol that is affecting your brain. But if you're actually sober, you would actually see this person is not even as fun as I thought they were. If they're boring, they're just as boring, whether they're drunk or not, whether you're drunk or not, that kind of thing, right? And yeah, so I read this book. I would highly recommend for anyone that is, you know, considering to quit drinking, or if you're questioning your relationship with alcohol. Definitely read the book. She debunks, and I'm not explaining as good as she explains it in the book, but she explains like the different myths like one by one, and she debunks every single myth, and it was fun to read. All right, and number 3, just by the help of the Holy Spirit. Honestly, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about God and the Holy Spirit and how instrumental He was in this journey, right? To be honest, like last year, if you were to tell me I would be here right now, for sure I would have laughed in your face, right? It's just by the grace of God. At the end of the day, I could not have done it without Him. You know, did I have days where, you know, I actually really wanted to drink, and somehow, some way I pushed through by His grace, right? Yeah, and even now, like the way I'm feeling right now, and how like my desire for alcohol has just kind of completely disappeared. Before, when I decided I didn't want to drink, we have like a bunch of bottles, like liquors here. I hid everything, like the top cabinet there, because I didn't want to see it and be like, oh, I want to drink, But now we have the alcohol like open there, and it doesn't even bother me. I don't even look at it twice. And I don't know how to explain that. I can just say it was God and the help of the Holy Spirit that we're finally here. I have no desire. I do not want to get back to it. And if I'm around people that are drinking and they're having a good time, I'm like, good for you. I am happy for them. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. I just don't have the desire anymore. And I don't know how to explain it. Of course, it's been 2 months that I haven't drunk. Maybe that's why. Maybe if I drink even one glass, I may just like go back to the whole thing, starting from square one. But I don't even want to. Like, even when I'm having a bad day, even when I'm feeling really sad, or I had a bad day at work, I don't think, oh my gosh, if I drink, this is going to make me feel better. No, I'm just like, let me journal, let me read the Bible, let me get in prayer. Like, it's just more like good things, doing things that are actually good for me, and not, you know, drinking. I know that's not going to help me in any way, and that's just the fact. drinking does not help in any kind of way. Okay, right, and that's it. Those were just a few things. If I was to think of more things that I would like to share with you guys, of course I'm going to upload another video, but so far I wanted to do a video of how I did it, and these were the main things that I could think of that actually helped me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've not subscribed to the video, please hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't watched that video when I talked about the reasons why I quit drinking, I'm going to link that video in the description box below. So please be sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you next time. Bye.